And good evening. Thank you for choosing Grabs TV and the Sicko Show. I'm your host, the Matty Man. Hope everybody's having a good evening. Looks like football's playing out like football tonight. And of course, the Bears and the Panthers, a couple teams that I actually root for across the board. Panthers actually won the game. Bears lost. Hey, it is what it is. Bears will be good next year. That's our when it comes to the Bears, that's our prevailing theme. Maybe next year. Same thing with the Panthers. Maybe next year. It kind of works out that way, and pretty much like all of life situations. Well, maybe next year. But yeah, we made it, and we made it through the week. We made it through this unbelievable amount of generosity that Tony gave us over at Hammerstein Ballroom, starting with Ring of Honor on Friday night, bleeding over into actually, really seriously, Wednesday Night Dynamite was off the chain too, but Ring of Honor Final Battle kicking in on Friday night. Christmas Collision was last night, and they are doing the Dynamite taping tonight live from the Hammerstein Ballroom, and I'm told now, I don't have any confirmation for this at all whatsoever, but I'm told that we have an appearance from someone, a reappearance, so to speak, return, if you will. And they kind of left that hanging out there. But you know what? We're going to do some research. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. We'll get back to you on that. I'm doing a little bit of research as it is. Just kind of bear with me here one second. Hey, it is what it is. Let's see. Give me one second here. All right. So I hope everybody's weekend was really good, especially those folks watching this on the playback. I do see a lot of people watching on the playback, and that gives me a lot of joy. It really does. I've only been doing this for a few months now, and it's starting to feel like there are days, and these are all my pre show thoughts here, by the way, in case folks aren't used to that or something to the extent of it. We don't do pre show thoughts on the watch alongs or anything else. We just generally get into the material. I do some live review while we're watching the show and so on and so forth, point out a few things here and there, and hopefully everything works out okay. Then I look at the numbers every once in a while and I'm like, well, maybe I shouldn't have said that. But, then again, I wouldn't be telling you the truth if I did, and I'd be dishonest. And I've always said from day one, if I can't do this thing with complete honesty and complete transparency, I don't need it because I don't. I can sit there and talk about building houses all day. Probably garnish a following. I could do that if I wanted to. It just is what it is. I talk about pool. Excuse me. I talk about pool, modern pool, European pool, billiards, 8 ball, 9 ball, 7 ball, Chinese 3 ball. Things that not too many people know about. Golf. If you ever play golf in pool, it's very difficult. Billiards, 3 cushion, 1 pocket, 14 and 1, straight pool. There's a lot of things we could be talking about. We could be doing that. But it's neither here nor there because we are live tonight on Grabs TV and the Sicko Show. I'm your host, the Matty Man. This is your live review of Ring of Honor Final Battle and AEW Christmas Collision from last night. We had an awful lot of material to fathom on. I've got a couple of hot takes on a few things there that are going to come along as the show comes along. But I'm going to go tonight on the basis that everybody who's watching the review actually watched the show or they've seen enough clips to put it together and make a show out of it so that you kind of know what's going on. You kind of know the moves. You kind of know the pops. You kind of know the high spots. And you kind of know everything else about it. So the main part of it is just to review exactly what happened, kind of give my thoughts on it and where I think things could improve and where I also think they really knocked it out of the park because that's part of what we do in a review. So, without too much further ado here, I had something that I was working on for a red light tonight, and I'm still waiting on confirmation for everything that's going on there. But it appears, at least on the surface, that one of two things happened. Excuse me, in the Ring of Honor press scrum, the scrum that followed the show, so to speak, that either JD or somebody impersonating JD, that is strong possibility that he was impersonated. So I don't want to put it all out there just yet. Made some threats during the scrum in the chat that most normal people can't make without getting a visit from your local law enforcement. Now, I'm not saying JD himself did that, but somebody impersonating or using the moniker of JD from New York. And when I did something really stupid, like click on the account to see where it goes, it went back to his main page. So I've got to presume that it might have been him. And if it was, dude, you are an absolute loser. He literally threatened, actually, he ordered a hit, so to speak, whomever that person was. And I'm not saying it's JD. JD could have been hacked. Okay? JD could have been hacked. We're going to give him the benefit of the doubt. But whomever that was ordered a hit on Tony Khan. I actually screenshotted it because when I went back to look at the scrum last night just to see if it was still there, see if the comments were still there, because I knew the points and where we were when all that was going on. But you know what? Even if it wasn't him, whoever that was deserves the red light of the year, and actually you deserve a visit from the FBI and your local law enforcement, because we just don't do those sorts of things. I don't like a lot of things that go on in the wrestling world, but I'm not stupid enough to get in there live and just say, hey, if you do this, I'll do this, blah, 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 and it turned out to be an actual felony, because that's just not what normal people do. They just don't do it. You know, normal people just go, I don't like it, and they change the channel, or I don't like it, and they make fun of people for a little while. Then it gets boring because you get no traction with it per se. And after that, you just go away. That's what normal people do. No, he leaned into that stuff. I do have the actual screenshot, and we'll go from there. But that's neither here nor there. That would have been a red light. It would have been a solid red light, too. But the other part of it, too, is where was I at on this one? Let's see here. I'm looking for it again here. Just kind of bear with me because it was right out there in bold. You know, it was just bold. See here. Give me 2 more seconds here. If I don't have it right in front of me, we're just going to move on. I had it saved. I lost it. I'm looking through. Give me just 1 minute here. Because if we're going to have a glitch, this is a good time to have a glitch, right? Oh. We're almost there. Give me a second. Anyway, it's not there. It's not there. It's not going to be there. I'm not really worried about it anyway. It wasn't that big a deal. It caught me off guard in the beginning, but, you know, after that, I just kind of rolled with it, and I'm just like, you know what? It's just dummies being dummies, you know? Is what it is. But, you know what? I don't want any of that to detract from the fact that Tony Khan, in his good graces, and that's the only way to put it, because after you've been in this man's shoes for the year of 2024. You've had your entire life consumed by a microscope. You have had your family brought into certain things. You've had some of the most vilest criticisms laid on you. It would be real easy to just go, you know, BAU on this thing. Business as usual. All right, I'm just going to pick a venue. We're going to throw some shows out. We don't have that much time left for the year, and really I need to gear up for January the 1st, so let's just phone it in. But Tony didn't do that. Tony just keeps on going. He just keeps on plugging. He just keeps on pushing. He just keeps on making it better and better and better. Now, for those folks who simply just cannot or will not understand that, that's your problem. We've tried to explain it to you in 48 different languages. We've tried to explain it to you 12 different ways. We've given scenario after scenario after scenario. If you are dedicated to misunderstanding, I'm dedicated to shutting the fuck up about it. I'm dedicated to letting you do you. I'm not trying to convert fans, don't care to convert fans. You either like the product or you don't like the product. And if you like the product, good. If you don't like the product, good. You know, where I come from, if you don't like something, you don't consume it. I have never once seen somebody take a spoonful of castor oil to spite anybody. That stuff's nasty, by the way. It's an old home remedy for when your stomach was hurting or something like that. Grandma used to walk in there with castor oil and she's like, all right, here comes a shot. You take a shot of that, you either throw up or it gets out of you one way or another. The castor oil works. Tastes like shit going down. Literally tastes like motor oil smells, just to give you a general idea, because I don't even know if they make it anymore. But I remember growing up, I mean, you had to weigh your options. If you had a stomach ache, you had to weigh your options on discussing it, because if you discussed it, here come that bottle of castor oil, and you knew what was coming afterwards. You like, mm-hmm. And you couldn't say no because we didn't have the privilege to say no. So we just went with it. So, but yeah, I mean, to say that Tony's gone above and beyond, he got a hold of the Hammerstein Ballroom, and I want in my pregame or pre-show thoughts to discuss things that went right, things that went wrong before we actually get into the show. The things that went right. Obviously, the time slots work this time. I'm hoping the numbers reflect. I don't care if they don't, because I know what's around it. I know the circumstances. And I also know that if you tell people in California they have to be on the TV 3 hours earlier than they're used to being on it, that's hit or miss. At the very best, it's hit or miss. You're not going to count on the West Coast crowd. If they have to do anything other than routine, you're not going to get them. Now, you may get them on the playback. You may get them on the comeback, but you won't get them at 5 o'clock when they're expecting it at 8 o'clock. They just don't have the attention span on the majority. Not all of them, but a majority. So I'm not looking for big numbers out of it. If we don't get big numbers, it's a big so what? Because actually, one thing that would have made a great red light was the discussion about Saturday night's main event, where they started off with 1.5 million. But wait, we found 700,000 streamers. You never get that story with AEW. Well, you know, Dynamite hit 598, but wait, we found the streamers. And then you get dumbasses like Eric Bischoff who troll and troll and surf and surf and surf until they find that one idiot who thinks people still watch linear cable television in spite of the fact that was going to be it. That was it. That was the one I was looking for, but I didn't want to get on Eric Bischoff's page. I don't want to give him the clout of a view. I don't even want to give him the view. He can't even have a dime for it. But he posted the most obscure shit that the guy basically says people still consume things 90% linear television, 10% streaming. That was true in 2014. That was absolutely true in 2014. In 2024, the last person I know that has cable, I'm getting ready to fix that on Christmas Day, when I cut them over to YouTube television, and they will indeed be streaming. That's not a set-top box. There is no way to monitor it. So going forward, from that moment on, every show that they watch will not register with the Nielsen's, and they'll still consume 4 to 6 hours of TV a day. And not a bit of that is going to show up on a rating anywhere. Just food for thought. Just food for thought on that. But like I said, not to get off on another tangent, because that's just not what we're going to do tonight. I have all the stuff set up here. I have everything lined up. Does anybody have any thoughts before I get into this? You know, like, comment, share, tell a friend to tell a friend. Overall, overall, the two shows were absolutely fantastic. What AEW got right before we actually get into the nuts and bolts of this, the venue was absolutely perfect. And I don't think they had to screen anybody, but they got lucky with the crowds. All of the crowds. They got lucky with the crowds. The crowds were good for both shows. The atmosphere was good, and everything had a big fight feel. So going forward, at least for the regular weekly episodic television, I would say that it is not a bad idea to keep running arenas like this, and it is damn sure not a bad idea to get that venue more than once during the year. No, they're not. We don't even have to worry about that, Catherine. I'm already watching them. I'm watching them right now, putting out streaming numbers on regular shows. Like things we wouldn't think about. They were talking about streaming numbers for the NBA, streaming numbers for the NFL. They're really starting to get into this now. Now that they've seen one set of 700,000, which took their precious Saturday night's main event from 1.5 to 2.3, once they found that, they know it can be done. It will be done. We will get streaming analytics. It will be from the actual people. It will not be from a third party. And they will brag on that. Netflix could say on January 7th that they didn't get 60 million, but they had 45 million. And guess what? There would be no way to dispute it. Because there is no third-party company out there sniffing the account, which that's a technical term, not a weirdo term. There would be nobody out there sniffing the account. There would be nobody out there running the packets just to make sure. There's no way you can do third-party analysis on something that has 37 honeypots on it. It's physically impossible. If they say they got a number from a third-party analytics team, that would mean that Netflix is wide open and they'd be getting hacked 150 times a day. But Netflix is going to be happy to tell you that because contrary to what's said on Covalent on that, I don't think the network executives are going to go gently into that good night because for the exact same reason he's talking about, they get fired pretty quickly. I'm going to have to go with they're going to start manufacturing numbers to protect their jobs and to protect their actual word, to protect their actual names, because I got a bad feeling that first show's going to get some looks, and then after that, it's going to go back down to where the numbers are right now, which is about 1.5 million. And on Netflix, that's absolutely unacceptable. But I do not believe in my heart of hearts, make a little adjustment there so you can see me better. I do not believe in my heart of hearts that they're going to let that go without a fight. I believe wholeheartedly, completely, without any question whatsoever, I fully and wholeheartedly believe they are going to just start bump reporting numbers. And I think we're going to get them. I think, to be honest with you, I think we're going to get tweets, live tweets during the actual show saying, hey, we're at 25 million streamers for this. Ooh, the streams went up to 30 million. It's going to happen. Those teasers are going to show up on Twitter. Those teasers are going to show up on Facebook. And I'm going to tell you where else they're going to show up on. That's going to be LinkedIn. And I think that's going to represent a first. I do believe Netflix will drill down, to unbelievable lows to where they'll actually be reporting this on LinkedIn as well. And I know that that group of executives are not going to be happy to hear it. So, yeah, with that said, I know what you're saying there. I'm just saying that's what their response is going to be. And I can say that because I'm already starting to see streaming comparisons made by people who normally talk about ratings. So when they talk about ratings and they start talking about streaming comparisons, I have no doubt in my mind that when January 1st hits, we're going to get those streaming numbers from Netflix on a regular basis. And you know what? I wouldn't even be mad at Tony Khan if he started dropping streaming numbers from Max. I wouldn't be surprised and I wouldn't be mad if he said, "Hey, we just had a surge in buys. We just had a surge in buy-ins. You know, 20 minutes before Double or Nothing, we had 1 million buy-ins. We had 1 million people subscribe to the app 20 minutes before Double or Nothing." I expect to start seeing that sort of thing in the press. If he has a PR team, that's exactly what the hell I would do. Without even a question. If there was a surge in subscriptions 20 minutes before my pay-per-view, you bet I'd be live tweeting that. And you know they're going to feed him that information. They're going to feed him that information on the regular, and I don't blame him if he starts live tweeting it during the show. Wow, we picked up another 100,000 subscribers. This is a good product. I would do that too. I would create that buzz. If I were in marketing, that's the first damn thing I would do, because in marketing, even if you accentuate the negative, it's still press. And that's what a lot of people don't get about press. There is no such thing as bad press in this scenario. Now, there is such a thing as bad press, but not when you're discussing numbers. If you're saying the numbers are down, WWE dog whistles low numbers because what happens is, and I didn't believe this until I finally started seeing it with my own two eyes, every time WWE makes sure that you get that low attendance number, the following week, those numbers are always up by 400,000 people. They're dog whistling. Guys, y'all didn't show up last week. And the following week, you usually see that number increase by 400,000. You know, they were sitting at 1.2 one time. Then the very following week, 1.6. There you go. And that's just it. So I wouldn't be mad. I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be surprised if they start feeding those numbers to Tony, because Tony likes using Twitter. And that's exactly what I would do with it. I get in a number, hey, we just picked up 500,000 subscribers. I'd be live tweeting that shit. Hey, we're 20 minutes out of Double or Nothing. Got to sneeze. Sorry about that. We're 20 minutes outside of Double or Nothing. We just picked up 500,000 subscribers. Don't miss out. Get in now. I can see that coming. I really can, and I welcome it. And I think it's a big deal. And I do believe that the drones will start losing their ever-loving flipping minds about it. And I will still be making my tea with their tears. You know, that's just generally how it is. And that's on both sides, because AEW has drones too. And when they start droning on about some stupid shit, I start brewing tea with their tears too. It's not a big deal. You know, it is what it is. But now, what AEW did wrong, there's one key thing. And I want to get ahead of that before I get to the match. And those of you who were in the live watch along with me for Ring of Honor have already heard this. For those of you who weren't, before the match started, during the introductions of it, I said over and over and over again, the money is in Cardona. And I don't know what it is. I've been doing perfectly fine until I get on the stream. Now I got to sneeze every 5 minutes. The thing that they noticeably got wrong was keeping the title on Jericho, because I think Cardona would have been a better sell. I think Cardona would have been a better TV push. The crowd wanted it. It needed to happen. Jericho needs to ride off into the sunset for at least 6 months and be missed. Because you notice, once again, we're coming back to this sort of thing here now. Jeff Jarrett came down to make a save during the matches and got one of the biggest pops of the night because he simply is missed. He hadn't been in the ring in 3 months, 2 months, something like that. He's been on the pre-shows and the 0 hour shows talking, but he's not been in the ring doing in at least a month, if not longer. He was missed. So when he showed up for the run-in down there, the crowd popped like hell because, like, Jeff Jarrett, yeah. Chris Jericho needs to go do that. Orange Cassidy needs to do that. Max Caster needs to do that. I am glad to see Max Caster off of television. That was another thing they did right. They teased it with the Acclaim music, but only sent Anthony Bowens down. We were good. Because if we'd have seen Max Caster on that thing, I swear to God, I would have stopped the stream. I would have been like, I'm not supporting this. I'm done. I'm done with this. I'm done with it. We'll be back after Max Caster gets the hell off my television. Because that's exactly how I would have treated it. I'm to that point with him. He's trying too hard. He's missing too much. And he's letting that color his emotions and feelings. And that there's no room for that in professional wrestling. Because, number one, you don't know what crowd you're walking into. You don't know what house you're walking into. And you don't know the atmosphere. Even if you've been there 1,000 times, the crowd's still different. So if the crowd ain't having it, it's time to pivot and get away from it. Just because you get into a scenario where, let's say, they were in Hartford, Connecticut, and all of a sudden Max Caster is getting over in Hartford, Connecticut. I expect him to get over in Hartford, Connecticut. Probably the main reason is because it's Hartford, Connecticut, and they're used to seeing WWE-style wrestlers, and that's what he's torquing for right now anyway, so I expect to see them pop for it. So, glad he was not anywhere within 1,000,000 miles of the show. That was just really good for me. That was, I lived with that. The only thing, though, seriously, that AEW got absolutely wrong about this is there should have been there should have been 2 title switches. And they dropped the ball 2 times in a row, and it really, I'm not 100% sure that, hang on one second. I'm not 100% sure that didn't hurt the valuation of the product. Yeah, all of a sudden I'm congested and everything. I apologize, guys. If I need to roll, I'll let you know, but I don't think I do. I think we're going to be able to get through this show. It's only going to be like an hour. I'm not going to keep you long because I do want to watch the end of the football game myself, too. And I know everybody wants to watch football. Some of you may be watching football and just listening to me in the background. That's good. I don't want to interrupt anything you're doing. Plus, just a reminder, there will not be a stream next week until Friday. We will not be streaming tomorrow. We will not be streaming Tuesday. And we will not be streaming Wednesday because we're going to be traveling. And it's the holidays, and there's a few other things that need to get done besides that. So I'm just telling you up front, next time we stream is going to be on Friday. It's going to be Rampage. It's going to be SmackDown. And I may do a review on Thursday. But Friday will be the next time that I do a live stream for a watch-along. And mainly it's because of the holidays. Mainly it's because I need to rest my voice. Mainly it's because my shoot job is a little more complicated between now and January the 5th. So I have that additional stress. Plus we have a couple other stresses on us too. And I just don't want to come in here and give you anything less than the best. And I don't want to be thinking about the travel schedule. I don't want to be thinking about how quickly I got to do all this stuff. So the best move is just to go live again Friday when I'm home and I'm at my desk and I'm in my usual environment and everything's done and everything's copacetic. So for that reason at all, we're not going to be streaming, doing watch-alongs on Monday or Wednesday. And I definitely wasn't doing one Tuesday anyway. Because I'm not even going to be around to watch the show. And, you know, it is what it is. Work is work. And we got to pay bills. So, with that said, first off, we got 16 people in the house right now. Thank you very much. Thanks for being here. Thanks for everything. Y'all are my people. It just is what it is. It's y'all are all my people, the ones that show up regularly. Love it, love it, love it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But now, without any further ado, we're going to get into the live review part of this whole thing, and we are going to kick it off with 0 Hour at the Final Battle. And just so you know, this year's Final Battle had 13 matches. Harley Cameron versus Hanako, I'm sorry. The Infantry versus Undisputed Kingdom, since I can't spell. The Dark Order versus Grizzled Young Veterans, and Lee J versus Gates of Agony. So we kicked it off. Let's see. Yeah, John Silver and Alex Reynolds of Dark Order took on James Drake and Zach Gibson. The first match on 0 Hours. It was a solid match. It, with a really good pace. It really was. It went well. Reynolds had to do a lot of the heavy lifting because Silver had an injured hamstring that I didn't know about. I found out about just a little bit later. But all four men did work really hard. Grizzled Young Veterans scored a win despite Evil Uno's best efforts. Overall, give me 1 second here. Overall, it was a good match to kick off the show with. Overall, I thought it had a really, really, really good feel to it. It even had a little bit of a big fight feel to it because there was some history, some stories, everything else. Not exactly the outcome I was looking for, but I understood then once I figured out what was going on, about the other opponents and so on and so forth. I realized they had to do the match that way, and I realized it had to go that way just so that it could actually get completed. Sometimes matches don't turn out the way we think they're going to turn out, and it usually has to do with an injury or a botch or something going on, and the wrestlers start calling it in the ring. It doesn't always go the way you think it should go, and I do believe that injured what was it? The injured hamstring, I think it was. The injured hamstring, I think, kind of affected the outcome of the match because I do believe that Grizzled Young Veterans were supposed to not win, but they won anyway. Following that one, Harley Cameron took on Hanako. I think I'm getting that right. I could be getting it wrong. In a mini cheat code. It was a reasonably good mini cheat code. Harley Cameron continues to be a national treasure. Even though she lost, she's one of the very few people that doesn't lose by losing. And that in and of itself is a treat and a rarity amongst everybody. And I can only think of a couple of other wrestlers that have this ability, but she can actually get better even if she loses. And, we've seen her lose a lot of matches, but we've seen her improve. Tonight, Final Battle, 0 Hour, another improvement. And in fact, I do believe she was working this a little bit with her heel gimmick. And when you put all that together, it still came out to be a little bit of a mini cheat code of a match, even though Harley Cameron was unable to get the win. I'm pretty sure with the beginning of the new year, I think you're going to see her start picking up some wins and so on and so forth. She has to, really, because she's becoming slowly undeniable too, even in loss. And that is a very difficult spot to be in if you're the booker, because even if you book them to lose, you get complaints about booking them to lose all the time. If you book them to win, you get complaints about booking to win all the time. But the fact of the matter is, people want to see her featured more prominently. I think Tony Khan's doing a great job of doing that. But, there's room for improvement. Like, put a couple of W's on her for a change. Especially for people that relatively nobody else had ever heard of, unless you watch Stardom or New Japan, something to that effect. So that's that. But yeah, Harley Cameron didn't pick up the victory, but she still picked up the street cred, and after that and everything else. Following that, we had Charlie Bravo, Sean Dean, Infantry, accompanied by Trish Adora. The tag team match against Undisputed's Matt Taven and Mike Bennett. Mike Bennett continues to get better and better and better. And so does Matt Taven. they continue to gel better and better as a unit. Their mic skills are getting better. Their character development's getting better. The whole 9 yards. They're moving up in the tag teams quicker than anybody thinks they are. Don't let that Ring of Honor thing fool you. The fact that they are actually picking up wins, especially one against the Infantry right after dude's birthday on top of all that. I mean, the Infantry did stand out. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to bury them at all or anything like that. They have really started working really well together, and it showed in this match. The chemistry was off the chain between all four guys, but especially team to team between the teams. Hey, that was a good thing to see. That was an absolute good thing to see. Undisputed Kingdom picking up the victory over Infantry. And then we had Lee J and EJ, Lee Johnson and EJ Duca. We're in the main event against Gates of Agony, and that was an absolute cheat code. I put up some clips on my page from that match. I was able to clip. And as far as I know, I didn't get any copyright strikes because generally I don't get them. But mini cheat code again, mini cheat code. And at the end of the match, when you were supposed to get the code of honor, we didn't exactly get the code of honor out of that either. So we got storyline to go along with it. Gates of Agony picking up the win, pretty convincing fashion. Not a squash, could have been a squash. And the action going between Lee J and Bishop Khan continues on. We've got storyline there. If you keep up with the Ring of Honor product, we've got storyline going there. They developed that. They pushed that out just a little bit further and a little bit better. So I'm looking forward to exciting things coming out of them. But yeah, Gates of Agony picked up the win. Pretty convincing fashion. We're almost at 20 people. Hey, thank you. Because I know football's on, but, hey, I just figured I'd do this. This is my relaxation time now. I'm starting to chill out. Had a good date, enjoyed it, had a good time. Now I'm ready to get this part handled here, and then we're ready for next week. We are ready. I finally got a Christmas tree put up. Oh, that's a long story. We'll get to that one of these days, too. But it's all good. It is what it is. Yeah, Gates of Agony picking up the win on that. And then I'm not even going to entertain that part of it. Then we get into the main stuff here. Yeah, I had some notes that at that point in time, I had some stuff on my mind. I'm just leaving that out because they're not relevant to today. Once I had a look at things, there were some things in that match that could have been better. But after I went back and rewatched it a couple of times, I watched the crowd feel, I watched the crowd response, the whole 9 yards. I think they did everything they could possibly do to get this crowd hyped. I think the crowd was just slow to pick up. I really do. And with that, 0 hour started to close out. Bear with me 1 second here. My camera's goofing up. Give me 1 second here. Of course, I'm going to replace this camera this week, too. That's the other reason I'm not going live until Friday. I'm going to replace this camera. Give me just a moment. I'll be right back. Yeah, that looks a lot better. At least on my end. I don't know what I look like on your end right now, but when my camera starts flashing, it does that to me, just to let me know. All right, but yeah, 0 hour ended out pretty well. I think this was a slow burning crowd to begin with because they were kind of into it at 0 hour, but it wasn't really that significant just yet. And then just like that, we kicked over from 0 Hour to the main show where Mansoor and Atlantis Jr. kicked it off with the curtain jerk right there. First match on the card saw Mansoor of MXM Collection take on the former Ring of Honor TV champion Atlantis Jr. Both men were playing with each other. Pause. Sorry. Both men were messing. Now that don't work either. Both men were playing mind games with each other. That's better. During the Code of Honor handshake, but Atlantis, who found himself on defense early, but it was Atlantis who found himself on defense early on. Mansoor did a surprisingly good job outmaneuvering the luchador. And that's as far as I'm going to go with everything that I wrote down, because the rest of this match was part of something that is terribly wrong at this point right now. Mansoor is a fantastic fucking wrestler. I just saw him on CMLL a couple nights before this. And of course, he's still in gimmick and so on and so forth. I really, honest to goodness, believe they need to get a new gimmick. I really do. I think they need a new gimmick. They can stick with the flamboyance. They can stick with everything else. But the gimmick itself is really, really, really... there's potential for it to go sideways. The thing could go wrong, and it could go wrong at a bad moment, and that's the problem. So the gimmick started off being funny. It started off being cool. Now it's just old. So they might need a gimmick refresh on that for Mansoor, because he's a phenomenal wrestler and should not be saddled with a hyperbolic Manscaped gimmick, to work with. Match went pretty well. Not in a cheat code, but it was a very passable match. Very passable. Nothing spectacular about it. I mean, Mansoor did heel things. Atlantis Jr. did babyface things. And Atlantis Jr. picked up the win on this match. It was not terribly long. Probably could have gone another... excuse me. Probably could have gone another 5 minutes and I wouldn't have been mad at it. I mean, Atlantis himself, he has a relatively basic look, which really gives him like a throwback look from the 80s luchadors, so to speak. And that's necessarily a good thing. I think he's got a bright future, and I say that, and I know he's been wrestling for a long damn time, but I believe he's got a bright future. I think he's got at least 5-6 more good years in him, maybe more, depending on how he takes care of himself and everything else. But, it is what it is. And Atlantis Jr. picked up the win, surprisingly, actually, because the feel of the match, I kept feeling like Mansoor could go over at any point in time. It just never quite materialized. Atlantis Jr. picking up the win on that one, and it was all right. It was passable. That's one thing. Every match tonight, every match on both of these cards were at least passable. There weren't matches that you just was like, neither one of these guys can go. This is bullshit. There was none of that stuff there. The matches themselves, all of them, even the ones I didn't really like that much, and some of y'all could see that some of them were hard for me to get into. Even some of the matches I didn't like that much, they were still passable, and I found a way to get into them, at least for the show purposes. And that in and of itself gives me something to think about every time, to where I can say, yeah, they put on a passable thing. That's about as far as I can go. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is on that thing. Following that, though, we had a cheat code of a cheat code of a cheat code match with Shibata Bread taking on Tommy Billington, lineage of the British Bulldogs, Tommy Billington, nephew of Dynamite Kid, Tommy Billington, the second coming of the Dynamite Kid. If he were a little bit bigger, it would be gravy. If he were like maybe 5'10", 230, that would just be gravy. But Shibata Bread shows up, and then, of course, he comes in under the gimmick and guise of the Wrestler. and proceeded to show everybody why he was. And we just hit 20 people. Thank you. We got 20 people live on here right now. Get out of here. That's really, really good. Thanks, guys. Like gang, comment gang, share gang. Get the word out. Get the word out as fast as you can. We're only going to be here for probably about another hour tops. So, I mean, I'm not going to take too much of your time. I'm trying to respect everybody's time. But I'm trying to get the review out too, at the same time. So it is what it is, guys. Work with me. But yeah, I mean, this was a cheat code of a cheat code of a cheat code match for me. The strong style versus strong style. One with a Japanese flair, one with a British flair on it, has always been a fascinating type of match to me. But I mean, to me, it was like Dynamite Kid. He showed up, he showed out, but he also respected a lot of what Shibata Bread was trying to do there, and they had a good pace. Everything they did felt like it fit. They didn't feel like they were rushing through things. They were not trying to get their shit in or any of that stuff. It was a good match. And like I said, cheat code, cheat code, cheat code. We had a figure 4 in there. We had all kinds of cool stuff. Good athletics from Dynamite Kid. Good athletics from Shibata. Probably one of the best Shibata Bread matches I've seen in a very long time. And Shibata was rewarded with the pin on this match. Sorry, guys, I'm super congested here. I don't know what's going on or what it is. It just seems like I'm doing fine. I'm doing fine. Hit the stream. All of a sudden, I've got a nasal meltdown, so to speak. My bad. I will do better on that. I apologize. But yeah, I mean, Shibata Bread picked up the win over Billington. I got to tell you something here. I see a lot of the dungeon in Tommy Billington. I have yet to reach out and actually physically ask. I heard a rumor that he had been training in the dungeon, but you could definitely see it. If even today in modern times, there is just something about the dungeon wrestlers. For those of y'all who don't know what I'm talking about, the Hart Dungeon is legendary, started by Stu Hart, maintained by Natalia Neidhart and her husband, amongst other people. There are other trainers in there besides them. But the levels with which they were trained are currently maintained in the dungeon. And it's told to me that if you can come out of the dungeon, you can pretty much about write your own ticket. So yeah, I mean, you could definitely see that Billington's dungeon time paid off. He had some spectacularly good moves, spectacularly crisp, and like I said, the high spots and everything that was going on there, not one bit of it felt rushed. Everything felt like it went smoothly. Cheat code, cheat code, cheat code. Shibata Bread picking up the win. Billington the only thing that I've got for Billington here, and everybody, I checked this out across the board to make sure I wasn't very off by saying it. Billington is a complete wrestler. He needs an entrance, and he needs a couple of other things aesthetically for his look. You put that together, and you put about 25 pounds on him and at least be muscle. You put about 25 more pounds on him, at least 25 more pounds on him. You got a solid wrestler, something you can promote, something that you can suspend disbelief on while you're watching him. Right now, it's hard for me to suspend disbelief on a lot of things because he's just too small. I mean, he's not tiny like other junior heavyweights, but he's definitely not even, not the 220 Miz. He's not that guy either. So, and from that, leading on after that, we had QT Marshall versus Jay Lethal in a comedy match, because that's basically what it was. Don't get me wrong, Jay Lethal tapped into a nerve. He got me on his side coming in the door. Black Machismo had Karen Jarrett out there cosplaying Sherry Martel. It was absolutely off the chain, well thought out. And for all the idiots who were out there screaming for homages, that was probably the biggest homage in the entire show, is to have Jay Lethal in it. There were plenty of originals in this show too, by the way, so I don't want to hear that out of anybody anyway. That was the most disingenuous piece of bullcrap I'd seen in quite a while. But the reality of it is, they put on a decent match. Once again, this was not off the chain. It wasn't bad. It was passable. And when you're putting together a show like this that doesn't have a lot of reach and everything else, you come out with a passable match, that's just as good. Now, I didn't have a whole lot of marking out on this. There were a lot of false finishes. They really got into the playbook. They did a little bit of everything. They spoke to every genre. They spoke to most every style. There was something in that match just to show you that they could wrestle just about any style. But at the end of the night, it was Black Machismo over Marshall in a reasonably memorable match. I'm not going overboard on it. I didn't really mark out. But it was good. It was passable and was entertaining. And like I said, you got Jeff Jarrett coming back out there to one of the bigger pops of the night because he made himself missable. Just because you're doing commentary in 0 hour for a couple of pay-per-views is not in the ring. The people in the building, there may be a few people around the press table that see you working, but a majority of people don't see you in the ring. And that's what created that pop. That's what they need to do with Jericho. That's what they need to do with a lot of people. Orange Cassidy, Max Caster. I got about 6, 7 more I could name, but they need to disappear for like a month so they can be memorable and they can be missed. And that part of it, and literally Jeff Jarrett just walked in there and proved it to you. The minute he walked in, the minute he did his run in, big pop. But he was missed. That is just something else. And then from that point on, our first women's match of the main card popped up on the screen right here, and it was Red Velvet versus Legit Layla Hirsch. Get your controller emojis out. This whole match was a cheat code. This entire match was a complete, total, utter cheat code. Cheat code, cheat code, cheat code. There was not any part of this match that felt rushed. There was not any part of this match that did not belong. Legit Layla was clearly taking this title shot seriously, and so was Red Velvet. They maximized every second of every minute that they were in the ring. Nothing was left on the table. It was constant motion. If I'm honest with you, and Tony Khan looked around and said, I need a producer for this match, it would not have shocked me. And it will still not shock me if this match was produced by either Christian Cage or Switchblade Jay White, because it had that feel to it. The way they were moving, the crispness, the violence, the constant motion, ignoring the hard cam, and just going out there and wrestling, which is a highly, highly underappreciated facet of most every bit of Ring of Honor and AEW wrestling. If I had to make a call on this match right here, I would have definitely said it was produced by either Switchblade Jay White or Christian Cage, because it had their fingerprints all over the match. Like literally, you could just see it was little quirks, little things. the pauses, the playing to the crowd the way they're playing to the crowd while working. Rarely did you see one of them stop and do a pose down for the crowd. They would do poses in the middle of holds, which is a lot like how, once again, Jay White, Christian Cage, how they wrestle. Everything they do has a purpose. Everything they do is constant motion. This match was motion after motion after motion, literally deserving the fight forever. It was literally deserving the fight forever chant, because they could have literally fought for another hour, and I don't think anybody would have been mad if they could make it an hour. I'm not trying to get anybody in there to have a heart attack or get gassed out or have to go to the hospital for intravenous hydration. That's not what I'm shooting for here. But if they could have wrestled for another hour, I don't think anybody would have been mad. I don't think anybody would have been mad going home at 1 o'clock in the morning after a match like that. I know I wouldn't have been. I would have enjoyed the hell out of it myself. But they put on a cheat code of a match. Cheat code, cheat code, cheat code. Of course, legit Layla comes up just a little bit short. Really, it was literally just a little bit short for Layla Hirsch, but it was short enough for her not to pick up the win. Did not get the title. They did do a couple of good things with this match. The video package basically got you up to speed for people who don't have Honor Club and for people who were just tuning in because it was a pay-per-view. They got that going there. It would have been nice to get a name for the rapper. I'm just going to say that right now. The rapper that opened up, the rapper that wrapped Velvet down to the ring, it would have been nice to get a name. Nobody ever gave the name, and I actually went out there and looked for it. I couldn't find it. I actually texted a friend of mine to say, hey, what kind of style do you think this is? Because it really sounded a lot like Jamaica Queens, and it could have also been Brooklyn. There's a couple of things. So I was trying to figure out where to get started looking so I could actually look up who the rapper was, because I was actually going to start downloading some of their music. They're pretty damn good. And you know me, most of you don't, but if you don't know me, most of my album collection growing up was Ice-T, NWA, Eminem, Tribe Called Quest. It was mentioned during the scrum. I need to go back and watch that again. I was too busy watching JD taking out a contract hit on Tony and trying to figure out what in the hell he was thinking, or whoever that was. They say it could have been that he was hacked or something like that, but whoever hacked him was just like, they weren't just trying to hack him, they were trying to put him out of business. I don't know who that was. But yeah, I mean, it would have been nice to know, because I really wanted to download the music and do that sort of thing there too. And it never quite materialized, and that's fine. It was still a great entrance. It was still awesome. The match was still awesome. Red Velvet picking up the win kind of caught me off guard, because I thought they were going to put the title on legit Layla Hirsch. And when they didn't do that, it led to speculation for me going forward that we might actually see some new champions. Afterwards, now, I know one person is not going to agree with me on this. They may not, they don't. But once again, legit Layla Hirsch, Red Velvet, they got the crowd into this match. And Lee Moriarty and Nigel Guinness coming up next would hang on to that crowd. The Ring of Honor Pure Championship Open Challenge set out by Lee Moriarty was answered by Nigel McGuinness. And they had Jerry Lynn, Rocky Romero, and Christopher Daniels serving as judges. I can talk. For the Ring of Honor Pure Championship Open Challenge, Moriarty came out with Shane Taylor by his side to take on a mystery opponent who ended up being Nigel McGuinness. Crowd went wild for Nigel McGuinness, because I went wild for Nigel McGuinness, and a lot of people in the chat went wild for Nigel McGuinness. Nigel McGuinness sells tickets, especially in Ring of Honor Tony Khan. Yes, please, thank you, and can we have some more? Now, I guarantee you that if you throw another Ring of Honor party on like that and it's anywhere near New York, you're going to sell out because Nigel McGuinness sells tickets. He strikes a chord and he sells a ticket. And he does it in the most unique manners every single time. It's not the same way every single time. These are people you spend money on, Tony. Not even kidding. Crowd went crazy for McGuinness. Then McGuinness gets down there and says, look, we're going to do it the original way. And of course, that required me to actually go look it up. But he was nice enough to explain it to us that you only got 3 rope breaks total. That included your pins, your submissions, the whole 9 yards. You only had 3 total. And then he proceeded to put on a clinic on in-ring psychology and storytelling that was so absolutely beautiful. What were we, Catherine? Like 8 minutes into the match, and we were thinking, man, Moriarty's going to be out of rope breaks here in just a minute, and then all he's got to do is slap something on him, and the match is over with because it doesn't matter if he drags him out of the bang. It doesn't matter how it happens. That at that point, there's no way to break it up. But then Nigel proceeded to work with Moriarty and get rid of his rope breaks, which took another 6 or 7 minutes. So they took a simple concept like rope breaks and built an entire match around that. Got us to 14 minutes, maybe 15 minutes. I want to say 14. Not 100% sure. Haven't looked it up or anything like that. Haven't timed it either. It was around 14, 15 minutes of nothing but working around the rope breaks. Which, if you've seen Covalent TV's interview with Sabu, Sabu was telling how to do good ring psychology, like with tables and stuff like that. He's like, these young guys, they don't know how to do this. Like you see the matches I'm in, I set the table up. I might not come back to that table for 10 minutes, but it sits out there and it lives rent-free in everybody's head. That's where those rope breaks were. That's where those total of 6 rope breaks exactly were. They lived rent-free in our head for close to 15 minutes. And when they got rid of the rope breaks, then the real match started. And then they built a match around no matter what happens at this stage of the game, there's absolutely no way to get out of it. If I drop you down by the ropes, the referee's going to go 1, 2, 3. You stick your foot on the rope, you grab a rope, doesn't matter. 1, 2, 3. I get you in a submission. You get to the ropes. It doesn't matter. We're not breaking that submission up anymore. That one aspect of this match, they need to do more of these, by the way. They need to have that style of pure championship, Ring of Honor pure wrestling championship. They need to run that style more often because you can build so much around it. That's what I remember about Ring of Honor being unique. That and the 20 count. The 20 count was always unique. But this right here added a brand new aspect to this match. Cheat code, cheat code, cheat code. Monumental cheat code. Flowers, we're not worthy. I mean, hang on a second. I got a button for this. Where am I at with my button for this? There we go. Maybe. There we go. Yeah. I mean, when you think about it, they wrestled 15 minutes around a stipulation. When they got the stipulation done, then they actually put on a cheat code of a match to go behind it. 5 stars. 5 stars. Moriarty picked up the pin. He picked up the win, not without a defiant Nigel McGuinness, but he picked up the win. I'm trying to word this correctly. Nigel McGuinness also brought the TV 14 with him. I cannot overemphasize that enough. Grown people fighting and talking like grown people. I have never once seen a fight start off with, "My good sir, I am going to avenge you." No, I've never seen a fight start off like that in my entire life. I have heard, "I'm going to whoop your ass." I've heard that a lot right before a really good fight kicked off. And I don't understand PG fighting. I never understood it when WWE cut over to it. I come to deal with it. I never, ever understood that at all. Never understood the concept. So Nigel McGuinness brought the PG 14 with him on the mic, in the ring, the whole 9 yards. Cheat code of a match. Lee Moriarty, much respect, much flowers. Put in a hell of a performance as well, in ways that I don't even have words for in most instances. But he did it. He did it. He knocked it out. They knocked it out of the park. Cheat code. And the energy just keeps on coming when the Sons of Texas, Sammy Guevara and Dustin Rhodes, took on the Righteous, Dutch and Vincent. Pre-game thoughts on this match. In the chat when we were doing our live watch along, I heard an awful lot of, "That looks like Big Bubba," probably from Stampede. Stampede was absolutely correct on that. And when he said that, whomever said that, I don't know if it was Catherine or Stampede, one of them said it. The first thing that triggered off in my mind is like, damn, he even almost looks like him too. But they started this match off hot. The match started off hot with outer ring extracurricular activity, i.e. fighting. And they fought all over the place before they even got to the point of getting into the bull ropes. Vincent did a really good job with this gimmick here. This is one of the things that was absolutely right with the show. Vincent did everything, fought tooth and nail, kicking and screaming, not to be part of this bull rope match in that way, shape, or form. And it started to show, and it actually sold. People were actually buying into this thing. When they finally got the bull rope on Vincent, that was like a super huge deal. The crowd started going, yes, now we can get to the match. But once again, I don't know if they were paying attention to how Nigel and Lee Moriarty worked that match around the gimmick and how they dedicated the first half of the match just to the gimmick. But Vincent was like, he had to be like, the crowd's going wild with this shit. Let me try it with our gimmick too. He worked that thing for a solid 8 to 10 minutes before they ever got the bull rope on him. Then they had the fight. Then he cut the bull rope off. Then they had a fight. Then he got hurt. Then they kept doing it again. Then they kept fighting. Then he got hit with the actual cowbell from one of Dusty Rhodes' matches. And I can't remember who they said he hit with it, but I mean, I just remember that was the actual one. I want to say it was Terry Funk or something like that. I want to say it was one of the Funk brothers. But yeah, they were going through that part of it right there, and that was that. Guevara's standing moonsault looked fantastic. They had double shattered dreams in there, and Guevara and Vincent with that double crossbody spot they did looked absolutely perfect. Guevara took a brutal bump through the table. What was there not to like about this match? What was there not to like about this match? I don't have a problem with it. Sons of Texas went over. They picked up the win. Convincing style. The only thing I would have said, the only thing that would have made this match better, as if somebody had caught a crimson mask because we had two bull ropes. I've yet to see a bull rope match, male or female, that didn't end up bloody as shit except for this one. And it wasn't like Dutch wasn't working to try to bleed. He went through that barbed wire table, and I don't quite much recall seeing any blood. You know? That was the part of it right there. If they could have made this match better, that would have been it. For me, though, it was a cheat code across the board, and the Ring of Honor show itself, and once again, this should have been in the pre-show thoughts, but here we are about it now. I'm going to bring this up. The Ring of Honor show, to me, was so phenomenally produced up until the match after the one I'm getting ready to cover right now. It was like it was going up, 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 up. As somebody saw something work, the next guy coming behind him goes, "That worked, let me try it." It worked again. The excitement was going up. Everything was going up. The crowd was like absolutely rabid after this match. And not to be outdone, because obviously all five of these guys sitting in the back, Willie Mack, Mark Davis, Commander, Brian Cage, actually all six of these guys, I can count, I promise. Willie Mack, Mark Davis, Commander, Brian Cage, our Ring of Honor television champion, AR Fox, and Blake Christian were like, wow, they got that crowd into it. Now watch this shit. This Ring of Honor television title that followed that match, Survival of the Fittest. In hindsight, Tony Khan, I hope you watched this match. I hope you saw the incredible chemistry. I hope that you saw the crowd. I'm almost 100% sure you did. And I hope that we get something quite similar to this. Now, I know that we've got a fatal four-way coming up at World's End. I would like to see that fatal four-way change to a survival of the fittest for the AEW World title, because I think you can almost recreate this on a different level. But this was beyond a cheat code. This match is levels. And by levels, I mean
levels.
above any other match I've ever seen. In 50 years, of watching wrestling, being at the matches, hanging out with wrestlers, being at the Indies, being at WrestleCade, in 50 years, I have never seen a match like this. I may have. Maybe I was in a mood or something like that. But I have only had two instances where a match moved me to this level. And even in those two instances, there wasn't a third of the action. There wasn't a third of the drama. And to be honest with you, there wasn't 10% of it. There wasn't even 10% of the actual wrestling content that we got out of this show, out of this one match. There wasn't 10% of the actual wrestling that we got in this one match. Let me see if I wrote down the order of elimination on it, because that's about the main thing here. Okay. Cage put on one hell of a performance. Commander and Christian put on probably the single most memorable performance. And I'm talking about, I haven't seen Ospreay do anything like this. I haven't seen Danielson do anything like this. The amount of work that went into this thing. First off, AR Fox worked the match like he was 6 months behind on the rent. You know, we say all the time, oh, he's working like the rents do. This guy was working like he was 6 months behind, and they already had his bags out on the streets if he didn't bring some money. That was how hard he worked. I hated to see him lose. I hated to see him get eliminated. Willie Mack was eliminated by Brian Cage first. Then Fox was eliminated by Brian Cage. Cage was then eliminated by Davis. Davis was then eliminated by Blake Christian. And then Blake Christian and Commander proceeded to put on one of the best lucha, high-flying, strong-style cheat code matches I have ever seen. They worked their asses off. This is one of the best survival of the fittest matches Ring of Honor has ever done. Everyone looked great. They had numerous memorable spots. The crowd was invested from start to finish. This is a match that needs to make it in the best of for the entire company. And in fact, it should be in at least, if it is not the top match, it should be in the top 5 at all times from here on out. I don't think you're ever going to pull this match off again. And I'm getting ready to compliment WWE because they actually have a match like this for me. That was when the Hardy Boys, the Dudley Boys, and Edge and Christian went at it in that tables, ladders, and chairs match. And Christian or Edge did that spear out of midair, hit the ground, popped up his head. He looked at this hard cam, and you could see the lights were on, but nobody was home. But he remembered in that spot he was supposed to dead eye the hard cam. That is the last match I've seen that had any of the intensity that this match had in it. And I still think that match comes up short in comparison to this match. Commander worked like he was going to lose his job. He got everything out of the toolbox, even the rusty screwdriver, that the one that usually rusts to the bottom of the toolbox. He even grabbed that sumbitch out and threw it in the ring. Either way, this match was beyond a cheat code. This match is an eternal favorite. If you have an opportunity to catch this on YouTube because you didn't spend the $10 and your little VPN thing didn't work, I highly recommend that you spend time studying this match. And future wrestlers, because I know a couple of them watch the show just to placate me, and I appreciate y'all. Seriously, I appreciate the views. Occasionally they share it too. Future major promotion stars, if you do anything that involves high flying, lucha, strong style, or any of that stuff, you need to watch this match and take serious, copious notes. That's a fact. This match right here should be a blueprint and a guideline for every match of its kind going forward. It was done spectacularly well. I had absolutely no problem with the finish. And even though I am a Brian Cage fan, Commander earned it. We all knew he could do it. And before anybody talks about that bullshit fuckery that WWE drones were talking about having a jobber being the Ring of Honor World Television Champion, Commander has won several matches on the main roster, but he has also been enhancement talent for several key players on the main roster too. And if you're going to call him a jobber, you know what the thing about a jobber is? Everybody in the back trust them to work with them in the ring. So you can come up with all the slander you want, but half of that locker room back there doesn't have that trust. So if Commander's got that trust and they can trust him with their losses on top of all that, the rest of y'all can just flat ass go to hell. How about that? Go straight to hell. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Just go straight to hell. That was the worst bad faith take I had ever seen about anything. This match was off the chain. This match should be studied. This match should be studied by up and coming indie wrestlers. This match should be studied by veterans. I don't know what possessed them. At the end of the match, I wondered if we needed a priest and an exorcist, because that was almost second and third world galaxies above anything I've seen anywhere in the Stamford product in the last 10 years, if not more. Like I said, the last memorable match I had from the Stamford promotion, WWE, was that tables, ladders, and chairs match. It was one of my favorite matches for the exact same reason this one topped it. So if you have an opportunity to go back and watch Ring of Honor Final Battle and you only see one match all night long, make it that one. Even though there were some staggeringly good matches afterwards, just make it that one. And we'll all be happy. You'll be happy. Your brain will be happy. You'll see actual professional wrestling. It'll be great. You'll love it. You really will. Let's see. And then, Chris Jericho versus Matt Cardona. Chris Jericho won the match. They put an awful lot into the entrance for this match. They put an awful lot into both entrances. Jericho coming into Frank Sinatra was not cheap. I know that song cost an ass load to put out on the venue, and I know it cost an ass load to go on a pay-per-view. He came out to that. Matt Cardona actually had one of the best entrances I think they've ever given an outsider. It looked good. It came over good. It established the business. It established the night. It also told a friendly story, because that's the way Cardona used to come in for some of his independent matches. Pause. And he said he thought that was appropriate, and I agreed with him. The entry was really good. The referee did seem to let him go a little bit outside and color outside the box, made for a better match. If I don't sound terribly enthusiastic about this match, it's because I'm just fucking not. Nothing wrong with Jericho's performance. Nothing wrong with Cardona's performance. The ending of that match was ass all the way across the board. It was absolute ass. It was unwashed ass on top of that. The wrong guy won. And I will say that from here on out, the wrong guy won. There's just no other way around it, and I will never back off of that. I will stand on that, because if you had put the title on Cardona, then immediately he goes into GCW, immediately he goes to Defy, immediately he goes to Hog. He's walking around with the AEW title, showing every other independent wrestler, if you just mind your P's and Q's, you too can do something like this. Even if it's a Ring of Honor title, Ring of Honor is still an AEW product at this point. I think it is astronomically short-sighted on everybody's part, from the producer to the referee, for not hollering back and going, Tony, we need to pull the trigger on this. The referee has some say in that too, because the referee can read a crowd too. And the crowd was solid behind Cardona to pull this title win off, to pull it off completely, and get out the door as the new Ring of Honor champion. And I was sitting there on the stream pointing every bit of this out, like, he could go to GCW with the Ring of Honor title. And that would have been badass. I guarantee you that beyond a shadow of a doubt, if Matt Cardona had captured that title, you would have gotten the added exposure of him shooting photos with Chelsea Green and her U.S. title and that stuff getting shared all the way across the Internet Wrestling Community, or IWC. Missed opportunity. Missed opportunity. Great match. Don't get me wrong. Great match. I was invested in the whole thing. But when they flipped it and Jericho won, I immediately said the wrong guy won. I needed that match to go 3 more minutes, and I needed a Cardona finish. I didn't care how it got done. I didn't care if it was heel tactics. I didn't care if it was a botch from Big Bill or Titty Liquor. I don't care how it got done. It needed to be done. I realized they were having a hard time trying to find a way to get him to the finish. You could see that they were teasing it, but then part of that tease, it seemed like Jericho was making a call in the ring to give it to Cardona too. Wrestlers have tells in a match. Everybody, the crowd, Jericho, I'm sure the referee hollered back and said, we need to flip this title. If we flip this title, this building's going to explode. It was ready to explode. The fans were ready. The fans were ready to throw so many streamers in that ring that it would have literally taken 20 minutes to clean the mess up. The fans were ready. I'm pretty sure Chris Jericho was ready because it means he doesn't have to work as much as he did before. And I'm damn sure Matt Cardona was ready because he's always ready. That's his moniker, and it's true. The marketing aspect alone of putting the title on Matt Cardona is immeasurable. Because like I said earlier, you know damn good and well if he'd have gotten that title within, what's the over and under on it being 20 minutes before Chelsea Green was in the back with him with her U.S. title and they were taking pictures up against the wall showing that title off? What's the over and under on it being less than 20 minutes? I mean, seriously. Cardona has definitely shown a lot of support for Chelsea in her U.S. title. Pretty sure Chelsea would have done the same thing. Pretty sure you would have had a viral moment there. Missed it, not able to get it back. Maybe down the road, some of this sinks in and you pull the trigger because the wrong guy won that match. Chris Jericho won with some bullshit. And that's as far as I'm going with that match. And the crowd literally deflated. Which got me feeling a sort of way because the main buy-in for this match for me, or the main buy-in for this show for me, was Athena versus Billy Starks. I wasn't going to do the review as of 2 weeks ago. Then when I heard that the co-main event was going to be Athena versus Billy Starks, I had no problems plucking my money down. I had no problems telling SmackDown to eat a dick. I was going to do it this way. And the only thing that bothered me is I wasn't able to cover Rampage the way I wanted to cover Rampage. I was trying to do results-based as they came up and everything. That was the only problem out of the whole night. The only thing that really made me feel bad is I couldn't give Rampage the kind of coverage I wanted to give it. But 100% sure that this match was the sell for me. It really was. So I met Billy Starks at WrestleCade. Wonderful young lady. Funny as hell. Gamer. Got all kinds of little quips and things like that. Really just a well-balanced, all-around, well-rounded young lady. Wonderful to have a conversation with. Enlightened in the business probably 20 years ahead of her age. She just turned 20 not too long. What was it, 20 or 21? But she thinks like a 45-year-old vet when you hear her talk. So, I mean, I was really pulling for her. I was really pulling for Athena. I was completely invested in this match. So for them to do what they did going out of it, you feel the crowd. They just like, like they completely deflated the crowd altogether. And, you know, I'm wondering if that wasn't a Will Washington call because I gotta believe that if Tony saw that match in person and not from behind the curtain, and he could see the crowd getting it and everything else. Because you guys, everybody thinks that when you're sitting in Gorilla, you can actually feel all this and see all this. You can't. That's why Triple H sits there and watches X to see what's trending on X, because you can't see all that. You see parts of it, you see bits of it, but you don't feel the atmosphere. You don't feel the energy. You don't feel it like you would if you were standing out there. I believe if Tony had been out there like that, I do believe he would have gone, no, 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 no. Belt's going on Cardona. Belt on Cardona. I would have believed that. I like to believe that. I do believe that. One of these days, if I ever get to interview him, I'm going to ask him. This is one of those questions that's going to stay in my head from here on out because it was that bad, and the match coming after it was going to be that good. So we didn't need a deflated crowd because that's extra lifting on Athena and Billy. They come out there and had to do the heavy lifting to get the crowd back. And they did it. This match was also a cheat code. Athena Billy Starks was the cheat code I knew it was going to be from jump. I mean, they were out there. They were aggressive from the beginning to the end, all the way across the board. Cheat code, cheat code, cheat code. I am very proud of how Billy Starks performed. I would have liked to have seen that be a title switch then. When they kept the belt on Jericho, you had to feel going into the Athena Billy Starks match, which is possibly why he kept the title on Jericho. That's also a possibility. It might not have been a gatekeeper. It might have been Jericho looking at what the crowd was doing, and it was like, if I put the title on Cardona right now, then the crowd's going to automatically know Starks is losing and Athena's going over. So my theory is that was part of it right there. I don't believe it was all of it. I believe it was part of it, because the match between Starks and Athena was a cheat code, the mother of cheat codes. Now, it was not the level of cheat code of the television title. It wasn't up to that standard, but there's nothing that's going to be up to that standard. However, for a women's match, and I'm going to say that 3 times because I want the thing about it is there's this perception that women don't fight like men. And in WWE, they most certainly don't. Everything's timed. It's clocked. You can see the clock. You can see it in their eyes. You can see it all over there. But in AEW, the women actually do move pretty good. They don't move exactly as fast as a man, but they're at very most a quarter step behind. Most of them. Quarter step behind on the regular. So, I mean, they had absolutely no problems telling stories in the ring with this match. I felt like it was really personal, even though I knew in the back of my mind, based on the conversations that I had had with Billy Starks and the way that she talks about Athena, I knew for real it wasn't personal, but they got in there and they convinced me that they were ready to kill each other. And they were willing to go to jail for it, too. See, there's a few people that act like, oh, I'll kill you. But these two right here actually worked like they were willing to go to jail for this. And you don't see too much of that anymore in this day and age when it comes to wrestling. They'll go so far, but they will absolutely not pull the trigger and take it to that next level. Athena Starks did not have a problem doing that, but in my humble estimation, I felt like Billy Starks should have gone over, but I'm hoping that this elevates her to a permanent spot in the main event scene for Ring of Honor until they call Athena up, and then I hope Billy's not too far behind Athena. Billy brings a different kind of style to the ring that I had. It's conglomeration, pun intended, of it's a conglomeration of multiple styles. You can see little influences in everything she does. She's an all-around complete wrestler. Athena is beast mode, God tier at this point. And of course, Billy was quick. I mean, not Billy, but Athena was quick to tell everybody somebody's going to get kicked out of MIT. So you damn sure, you damn right. I'm going to be watching Ring of Honor on Thursday, and I may even do a live watch along for it on Thursday. Since I'm not doing anything Monday through Wednesday, I may kick off on Thursday with a Ring of Honor watch along for this episode because Athena did say that somebody was going to get kicked out of MIT, and I definitely want to be there to cover that. I don't think anybody in their right mind wouldn't want to be there. Um, but I'm probably going to be there to cover that match. I'm not announcing Thursday officially yet because I don't know how I'm going to feel after I get back from Christmas because, this is without getting too crazy, this is my 9th year without my mom. This is my 12th year without my mom, without my dad. This is my 11th year without my sister and my 14th year without my brother. Christmas kind of gets you this way. I'm the last man standing in my family. Everybody else around me's dead. I'm it. I have children, but I'm talking about in my direct lineage. So Christmas sometimes gets to me a little bit hard. So I figured instead of bringing all of that sorrow and everything in here with me, I just wouldn't do them at all. If you really want me to be honest with you, that's why. And a couple other life events have hit me kind of funny here recently, and I don't want to go into them in detail, but we've had a couple of life events hit. And, it is what it is. But Thursday, I'm thinking I'm going to be back. I'm thinking I'm going to be right. I'm thinking everything's going to be fine. And, yeah, just talking about my parents, it gets me a little bit choked up. So I'm sorry about that. So we'll definitely be back Thursday to pick up on that part where Athena said somebody's getting fired from MIT. So I'm going to be there to pick up on that vibe, so to speak. We'll probably cover that show with a watch along. We may even do a live review during it, or we may do a live review after it. Just depends on how I'm feeling, okay? But yeah, Athena picked up the win. I really felt like Billy Starks would have been better suited in this, and I think they could have sent Athena up. Give me 1 second here. So this is what the camera is doing now. It's giving me an hour, and then it starts flashing to let me know that it needs to be reset. The main thing I didn't want to deal with is buffering and frames and so on and so forth. There we go. We got it back right. So I would have thought they would have taken the title off Athena, put it on Billy Starks, and sent Athena up to the main roster so she could deal with the likes of Mercedes Moné, Toni Storm, and Mariah May. Or even a Chris Statlander match. Chris Statlander and Athena with that style that she worked last night, which we're getting ready to get into here in just a couple of minutes. Going to give a pre-show thought on Collision as well. I did not mean to go this long, so I'm probably just going to go results-based for Collision because I promised I wouldn't keep you long, and football's still footballing, and everybody still wants to catch the end of it without having a voice in their ear and so on and so forth. And I don't blame you. I respect your time. You respect me. I respect you. We're sitting at 21 viewers right now. Thank you very much. I would have thought they would have gone that route, but they didn't. The close of the show was pretty good. Closing out the show was absolutely good. Overall, Ring of Honor Final Battle for me gets a 7.75. There were I'm not going higher than 7.8. And I just, as I was doing this commentary here, I took an additional 0.5 off for that ending, the finish for both finishes of the main events. We did not have a title change. And of course, like Catherine said, it could be the gatekeeper saying, no, you need to keep the title on Jericho. I thought it was short-sighted on that one. I thought it was almost obstinate, like hard-headed, obstinate. That this is the way I want to go, and this is the way it's going to go. And of course, everybody has to say, okay. Really? Yeah, Dallas has been mathematically eliminated as I understand it now. So I don't even know if Tampa's playing to play. But, hey, it is what it is. Them boys still get people on television, and I get it. You're right, though. I don't particularly care to see Tampa and Dallas, but I don't care to keep everybody here till like 11, 12 o'clock at night either. So, I mean, I could go on and on and on about Final Battle. I thought the show overall was really good. I'm still at a 7.75 because they made some key mistakes on booking that I thought were key mistakes. And of course, that 99 cents gets you a cup of coffee. But at the same time, I thought if they had double title switches right there, the fans would have gone home happy. The fans were obviously with Billy Starks, they were with Matt Cardona the whole time. And I really felt like it was a letdown for everybody who had been um, faithful to the product, so to speak. And he had an exceptionally good crowd, and just the clips alone. I think if Matt Cardona had gone over, I think it would have taken him a solid 20 minutes to clean up the debris. I think everybody in that building had a streamer for either Matt Cardona or Billy Starks. And they might have bought two streamers, one for each. That's the thing, by the way. And 7.75, I'm definitely sticking with the Ring of Honor channel, especially until they go mainstream. Um, I'm sticking with the Ring of Honor channel. I'm sticking with covering it. I'm going to pick up New Japan's channel just in time for the January 5th Wrestle Dynasty because you can damn sure bet I will not be watching Netflix unless my wife gets home sometime and logs it in. I'm not going to be watching Raw on Netflix. I'm 100% sure of that. She has that account. I'm not really worried about Raw on Netflix. I'll find a way to watch it. If I have to watch it, I may just skip Mondays altogether. You know, that could be my response to them going completely off grid like that. I'm not paying $19 a month to not deal with ads, and I'm not paying $8 a month to deal with 150 ads over a 3-hour segment. Um, I'm not falling for the okey doke on that one, but I'm definitely sticking with Ring of Honor. 7.75 on this one. Moment of the night. It's very hard because there were a lot pause. There were a lot of good moments of the night. It's a tie for me between Lee Moriarty and Commander goes over simply because that match was levels above a cheat code. So for that reason alone, I wanted to give Lee Moriarty some love and I wanted to give Nigel McGuinness some love with the end of this. How they took a stipulation and worked 14 to 15 minutes and made it feel like it was 5 minutes needs to be studied by every independent wrestler out there on the market, male, female, I don't care who you are. That needs to be studied, and we need to see more of that. However, the emotional charge and the absolute, once again, this one was, I mean, that world title match, that world television title match for the men, and the first little bit of it, the first few eliminations, yeah, I can give it to some people that a couple of them probably were predictable. They were probably boring to a couple of people. But once it got down to Commander and Christian, they strapped rockets on those guys and they just went to like the next stratosphere. They went so many levels upon regular wrestling and even cheat code wrestling. They went so much further in it. They were in another ionosphere. Not even kidding. Yeah, that's it right there. That match, the World Television Championship match for the men's side, I'm going to make the whole match the highlight of the night because that was the show stealer. That was the one that got the crowd so deeply into the match. They were looking rabid at the end of that match. So, yeah, that's my moment of the night for that. Overall, fantastic show. Like I said, I'm going to keep Ring of Honor around because I just subscribed to it right before this. When I saw that match, I'm like, I got to subscribe. I got to support Billy. I got to support Matt Cardona. I've got to support Harley Cameron. Harley Cameron being on the 0 Hour show. Got to support all of this. and I'm going to keep it. Overall, I'm looking for a little bit better crowd response next time. I'm looking for a little less obstinance and a little bit more of glad handing with the crowd a little bit. I'm also looking forward to a little bit more of a keep that size venue. Until the fan base starts picking up, Tony, these 3,000 seat arenas and stuff like that, that's the ones we need to work. Because you get the best crowd reaction. How you build fans is if somebody tunes into that. If Final Battle had been on regular television and somebody tuned in to that segment with Commander and Christian, if somebody had tuned into that segment with that presentation, with those fans literally hanging off the balcony in some cases, they would have been like, I don't know what this is, but I need to sit down and watch it. Look at how these people are reacting. That's the kind of venue you need to go to. You don't need tarps in the background. You don't need blacked out seats. You don't need the lights lowered. You don't need any of that. You just need to stick with this venue for a little while. You're not going to make a lot of money doing it, but you're going to make a lot of money doing it. Because you're going to make a lot of fans, because that's what people get incentivized by. I started watching Covalent TV because it was absolutely different. And as long as they keep it that way, I will probably watch it for the rest of my life regardless. You know? It's that kind of chaos, that kind of organized chaos and everything else. This show was phenomenal. If a casual viewer turned in and watched that match and and then got into the match, you would have made a fan. And the only way you can do that is to keep these venues the way we're doing them. 3,000, 4,000 tops. The DC venue should be the biggest one you do, with the exception of the stadium shows like All In and anything you may do over in Europe. But right there, that was the key. Good show overall. Totally passable. Loved it to death. Wouldn't trade anything for it. And of course, not to be outdone. Last night, everybody came in there. Obviously, they were watching this thing and they were just like, no, man. We are not going out like that. We can put on a show too. By God, they went out and did it. Pre-show thoughts on Collision. Just so I don't have to repeat myself over and over again in some of this. The beginning and the end of this bookend were absolutely top shelf. The filler in this show, I could have easily, for the rest of my life. Now, I realize the Costco guys are something. I get that. I get it. I realize the Costco guys are something, and I understand that. Less of that. I mean, I realize that you've got some ROI that you need to get on this. Just sneezed again. Sorry about that. I realize there's some ROI you need to get out of this, but not right now. No, not right now. The Costco guys kicked off the show. I didn't care. I really didn't. I don't like it when shows kick off with random babble that has nothing to do with the actual show or anything in the future that's reasonable. Now, I know they're going to try to shoehorn them back in for World's End, hoping that's a 0-hour show because, yeah, it needs to be. The good stuff in this show here, Will Ospreay and Ricochet. Ricochet did a heel turn that was absolutely beautiful. And that's one of them I'm definitely going to get into. It's not make it just results based. first off, the toilet paper thing, just so we get ahead of it, because that's definitely been something I've been seeing all over the twits all day long today. The toilet paper thing was an homage to a specific person. If you bear with me 1 second, I could probably pull this off and just let you know what in the world is going on here. Okay. That ain't it. Let's see here. There he is. I'm going to pull that up real quick. Pause. By the way, Wrestle Kingdom 19's updated card. What was I looking for here? I know it's here somewhere. I swear I had all this stuff bookmarked, but something happened and I lost most of my bookmarks. Just kind of bear with me here. There it is, I think. That ain't it. Just a couple more. That was the 6th spot from him. I've just got one more. If I can't find it right away here in like 2 minutes, I'm going to jump right over here again. There was a specific name I was looking for. And like I said, I had notes on this thing. It's been a crazy day, guys. That's the best way I could put it. Let's see here. Just about there. Give me 1 second. I thought I had it. Yeah, the one thing about it tonight, they had that, or last night, they had the crowd going so good. They had the crowd going so good. The crowd was going, fuck them up, Ospreay, fuck them up. That was beautiful. It was an homage to an actual wrestler. I can't find it off the top of my head. I'm not going to keep digging because we're already almost 2 hours into this show and I'm trying to get you guys home. Suffice it to say, that was a cheat code. Ospreay worked his ass off. Ospreay proved once again why he's one of the best wrestlers in the world, because he can do enhancement talent or he can actually be your main eventer. And that's a fact that's kind of lost on mainstream media. Give me 1 second here. There's that. Ospreay could work a burlap sack and make it into a 5-star match. Ricochet could work a burlap sack and make it into a 5-star match. So when the both of them get together, this match was incredibly huge. There were so many good spots. There were so many good things to talk about. The least of which not the least of which was the heel turn its actual self, when Ricochet was getting ready to make a maneuver, and obviously it was a little bit of a botch. He slipped climbing the ropes. The crowd let him have it. And he popped over, turned around, and flipped off the entire crowd, and we absolutely knew. We knew right then and there the heel turn was locked in. Cheat code, cheat code, cheat code. Ricochet actually wins. Will Ospreay actually eats the pin, which I thought was absolutely crazy. Ricochet goes to 9 points. 5 stars on this match. Then we got a shitty promo between Adam Cole and MJF, which I don't care about. Nobody else does. Chris Statlander and Penelope Ford, also a cheat code all the way across the board. It was a phenomenal match. There is absolutely nothing in that match I would change. They need to keep Chris Statlander's brutal style, so to speak. I don't know what we're going to call it. I didn't see a problem with this match. I realized there was some hate going on out there. I would have given this match about 4 stars by itself. Statlander delivered in a way that she needs to deliver, and we're getting Mercedes Moné Statlander number 2 at World's End, and I'm afraid that's going to be a cheat code because obviously Mercedes likes working with Chris. Chris likes working with Mercedes. Last match was a cheat code. It's not uncommon to think this match wouldn't be a cheat code. Absolutely not uncommon to think that. We got that match out there. Penelope Ford worked like the rent was due, and it showed. She progressed as well. So I don't have a problem with this match. Match came off well, just exactly like I thought it would. Everything was good. Statlander picking up the win on this one on her way. Then we had that segment. Toni Storm being the gift. This is something I will actually stop and talk about for a minute. Toni Storm is the gift that keeps on giving. And I literally just wrote a post on this before I went live because it's the way I feel about it. If anybody had a problem with her debuting this new gimmick and so on and so forth on Rampage, clearly you didn't watch the show. Clearly you aren't paying attention. Clearly you don't understand in-ring storytelling. Clearly you don't understand the gimmick turns. And I'm talking to all of you, Disco, Fightful, Bully, Eric, Jackass, Dumbass, all of you. And one of you is actually a hog commentator and should understand about storytelling in the ring, should understand match placement, should understand why the person who now has the gimmick, in which they don't know they're an actual world famous wrestler, they think they're a rookie. They should have probably started on the rookie show, which happens to be Rampage, you stupid dumbasses. Enough with that. Was beyond nitpicking. And it was more like, I don't want to say that they don't get laid because I don't believe that, but they act like people who don't get laid. Okay? That's the bottom line on that one. There is not one nice thing I could say to any of those jackasses. This is getting better and better and better. Toni Storm, I'm getting ready to sneeze. I'll be right back. Toni Storm continues to show us why, day in, day out, night in, night out, she was not given Sports Illustrated's Women's Wrestler of the Year. She earned every letter, every space, every punctuation, every paragraph break of that article. Every single bit of it she earned. That was a beautiful promo. It was hilarious. Watching Deonna Purrazzo break was just absolutely beautiful. I mean, top to bottom, great segment, whole 9 yards. And then following that, we had some atrocious bullshit here. Some dude named Daniel Garcia showed up, stole a pin away from Shelton Benjamin. I'm not covering that match. It was a phenomenal match for Shelton Benjamin. Daniel Garcia, Shelton Benjamin carried Daniel Garcia to a passable match, and he carried him kicking and screaming. And I swear to God, we got that fucking dance back. He was at least doing good enough not to do that stupid fucking dance that is going to be on every highlight reel for the next 6 weeks. And they're going to lose sight of how good Shelton Benjamin worked because of that stupid fucking dance. Daniel Garcia went over. No idea why. The match was stupid. Daniel Garcia should not be in this tournament. He already has a title. You put a title on him, then you put him in a tournament for a title. Come on, stop it. If anybody needs to be 2 belts, Daniel Garcia ain't the guy. Okay? He's not. Period. End of discussion. He shouldn't even be Daniel 1 belt right now. It is what it is. We have to deal with what we have to deal with. And following that match, we had another Continental Classic Blue League, Beast Mortos versus Mark Briscoe. Once again, a moderate mini cheat code, almost a mini cheat code. Not bad. Mark Briscoe kicks the win. He goes up to 9 points. And to close out the night, this one we are going to talk about. Darby Allin, Claudio Castro. I'm not even going to try it. Claudio and Darby. Darby went out there and did Darby shit. That includes a dive from the stage where he literally cracked his cranium on the floor with that thing. I'm pretty sure he worked the rest of that match concussed, but he still worked it like the rent was due. Claudio did typical Claudio things. We had some big swings. We had some European uppercuts. We had some crisp, clean wrestling. And for some reason, everybody got mad about the finish. I didn't know how this match was going to finish out the whole time. I really didn't. I did not know how this match was going to finish out the whole time. I kind of had a feeling it was going to at least flirt with a cheat code, but we're going to leave it at a mini cheat code. Claudio worked this match really well. I don't think he phoned it in. Darby busted his ass top to bottom like Darby usually does. They put together a hell of a match. Claudio picks up the win, goes to 6 points, and that was your Christmas Collision. Tony Khan did put on some good shows, but I agree with what Daryl said last night when he said it's like a sandwich with a loaf of bread that cost $100 and you put peanut butter and jelly in the middle of it. That's how I felt about the match. The front end, the back end, very good, very top shelf. They started good, they finished good, but there's some of that stuff in the middle right there. Some of that stuff in the middle, I mean, Penelope Ford was good. You know, I'm even going to go with Beast Mortos and Mark Briscoe being a good match. But some of that in the middle filler stuff, that, yeah, we could have done without that. And if you're going to have Daniel Garcia on regular, weekly, episodic programming, if he's going to carry that TNT title, that dance has got to fucking stop. Because it will not matter how good that match was. That's why I skipped over it. It was a decent match. But it doesn't matter. Because all you're going to see is Daniel Garcia standing on the chair. Shelton Benjamin is crotch in Shelton Benjamin's face doing that stupid fucking dance. It's got to go away. If you're going to keep a title on him, that dance, you can't have both. He can either have the dance or the title. He can't have both. It's devaluing the title. And now that may sound like harsh criticism, but the stories just write themselves. After you've dealt with enough of these drones, after you've dealt with enough, and you're out there trying to help convert fans, then all of a sudden this clip shows up of basically Daniel Garcia gyrating in the face of Shelton Benjamin, and that's the highlight clip you're going to get. Because you know these idiotic assholes ain't got nothing better to do. Half of them don't have jobs. Half of them that do have jobs have to worry about dropping the fries. You know, that's the kind of shit you're going to get if you keep producing this. From an analytical standpoint, overall, I'm going to give Collision a 7 for the exact reason that I said. The front two and the back two were good. The middle filler, if it were not for that, even I will say this, if Daniel Garcia had wrestled a passable match without all that schoolboy, stupid fuckboy shit in the middle of it, if he had wrestled a clean match like that and still picked up the win and so on and so forth without all the stuff that I know is going to be clippable, this show would have been an 8.5. But just because I know how it's going to get presented, that filler was that bad. 7. 7 off the rip. Um, moment of the night for me was actually Ricochet embracing his heel turn and flipping the crowd off. The minute he flipped that crowd off, that was the moment he embraced his heel turn. He sold it. He drugged the fans kicking and screaming into that match because they were trying hard not to fuck with him. They were trying hard to mess with him, but not fuck with him. And he dragged them kicking and screaming right in there. I'm a heel, bitch. Deal with it. And he drug them into the match, kicking and screaming. So that one moment when Ricochet flipped off the crowd, that's my moment of the night for Collision. Collision comes in at a 7 for me. Once again, for that filler crap, um, we probably could have done better. And regardless of the numbers, if the numbers are anything less than 500,000, you're going to see that WrestleNomics thing, and you're going to see Daniel Garcia standing on top of it with that gyrating dance with his crotch in Shelton Benjamin's face. That's the highlight, and they're going to put that right on top of the number. If it's not 500,000, that's exactly what you're going to see, whether you like it or not. Overall, between Wednesday, Friday, Friday, yesterday, and what we're about to get from tonight, because I'm pretty sure they're still working the matches. I could be wrong. Um, Based on all of that, overall, an overall grade for this entire Christmas presentation from Wednesday through tonight, Wednesday to Wednesday, because we're going to get the final part of it in an actual show. I am not looking at the spoilers because I would like to be impressed. We're going to get probably, if I had to grade the entire show, the show set, and the venue and everything else, I would give it a solid 8.5. Uh, so far, everything I've seen, with the exception of the stuff that I raged on there and it needed to be raged on, because I've been given chance after chance after chance after chance after chance after chance, and they keep doing that after that after that after that after that. 8.5. If we get rid of some of this stupid Daniel Garcia bullshit, a couple other spots in there could probably go away, and that would increase the value of the show. The venue is awesome. We need to keep doing that on a regular basis, at least until the fan base build. We need a fan base built up where there's standing room only, and you sell the standing room spots out, and people pay to stand in there and watch the show. When you get to that level, then we move up to 5,000, 6,000, sell those out, move up to 10,000. Believe it or not, that's how NWA got it done. And that's how they got it transitioned into WCW, where you used to see the arena shows. They started off as 3,000 and 4,000 seat house shows. Charlotte Coliseum seating 4,000. Winston-Salem Coliseum, before it was Lawrence Joel Veterans Memorial Coliseum, you would get about 3,000, 4,000 in that building to watch wrestling. They'd be in the annex with 2,000. You know, they built that thing up so by the time WCW came along, they could do 20,000, 30,000 on a regular basis because NWA started off like that. I like this move. I like the way it's going. I like the energy it's creating. I really do. I like the energy it's creating. Just those tweaks and the ones that I was really vocal about, those need to go away. You do that, and this show is going to we're going to have a Millie just on linear cable. Because if everything had the same speed as that men's World Television Championship, if everything ran like that, this would be a this would have been a 10 out of 10. You know, some of that other stuff you can kind of look aside on if you've got stuff like this coming around, because we know that you need cool down moments. Otherwise, the crowd will crash when you don't need them to crash. I got it. I feel you. I understand the assignment. Now understand what I'm telling you. A little less talk, a lot more action, a little less dumb shit, a lot more good shit. And I think I've already covered the dumb shit. And I didn't even let that affect my ratings as much as other people do. But it needs to change. And Orange Cassidy needs to be a solid mid-carder. He is not the leader of this show. He's not even close. Now, he might be close to some of your fans up in Stanford, but in your fans in the other 49 states and the other 6,000 communities that you serve, he ain't it. He ain't the guy. Will Ospreay, Swerve Strickland, those are the guys. And I wanted to be able to cover that segment pretty well, but I mean, the Garcia match was so shit, I just skipped right over everything at that point. You know, but the reality of it is, there is so much brightness on the horizon, it's scary, but you got to stop. It's one of those things where it's almost like you just can't say no in spite of yourself. You could, but you're not going to. You know, and I would like to see that part change. I have my favorites too, but if it's costing me money, I'm not going to do anything with them. And I'll tell them that. I'm not shy about that. Because it should be their wake-up call to go out and do better. Hey, you've got fans to win over. I happen to be one of them. And just to say this, oh, you just being too harsh on him. I was saying the same shit about Jack Perry up until about 3 matches after Double or Nothing. And I'm a fan. Jack Perry fixed the things that bothered me. He really did. The things that kept turning me off to being a fan of his, he fixed them. I'm a fan. I like what Jack Perry does. If you'd have asked me back in April, I'd have said, nah, waste of talent, need to fire him, he's not that good. But he did little tweaks. The title thing. The whole 9 yards. Jack Perry made a fan out of me, so I know, damn it, it's possible. It's possible. But you got to be willing to make the commitment. That's all. And it's not hard. It is possible to make a fan out of anybody, but that person has to make the commitment. If they don't make the commitment, and they're not going to make the commitment, cut them loose. We're not doing 50,000 seat arenas for house shows here, guys. Margin of error is razor thin. And the grace period that you get with most of the compromised media, because for some damn reason you can't lay off of them either, you don't have any room here. You don't have any wiggle room at all. Everything has to go right almost every single time. Because no one highlights the good stuff you do, but they definitely lean into the bad shit. Even if the bad shit's exactly 3 minutes of the entire program, that's all you're going to see. And to your casual fan, if that's all they see, you are not going to win them either. Just a thought. And I think we can all agree that I actually like AEW wrestling. Just a couple of tweaks, man. Just a couple of tweaks. Garcia beating Shelton Benjamin after Shelton Benjamin has run roughshod like a big badass bully over almost everything that walks, talks, and crawls was an absolute horrible decision. Made worse by not getting that damn fucking dance off of him. That made it even worse. Not only did he win, but the clip is going to be him doing that gyrating shit in front of Shelton Benjamin's face. It's not going to be the match. It's not going to be the action. Yes, it was good. The people who don't care really don't care. But they're going to besmirch and drag your name through the mud with that one little clip. That's all you're going to see on that side. And Daniel, I put that totally on you because you got to know this by now. You are not a stranger to the internet, son. You need to take a look at your own press. Fix it. Daniel Garcia can make fans out of people. Orange Cassidy can make fans out of people. Jack Perry made a fan out of people. I don't see why the other two can't. But that requires effort on their part. And with that, we got through them, guys. We got through them. We're 2 hours and 15 minutes into this show. I am going to take a couple of minutes here to give everybody an opportunity to see if there's comments you want to make before I shut the show down. Let me know if you got something on your mind. I'm going to give you roughly about 2 minutes. I'm going to make one more adjustment on this camera. Give me just a minute. I think that's got it. All right. Going once, going twice. All hearts free. All right. If we don't have any comments coming in the next minute or so here. I always like to give everybody a shot to say something before it's all said and done. All right. If nobody's going to say anything, then we're going to go ahead and shut her down for the night. Final thoughts. Yeah, they are setting up Shelton Garcia. They pointed that out with the backstage promo part, but there were other ways to get to it besides this. I wanted to see Shelton get some solid numbers for the Hurt Syndicate so that he could be in the finals. He could be sniffing around the finals there somewhere. At least keep them relevant in that situation. That TNT title apparently is going to be there when this is done. And it would have probably made a whole lot more sense to me if Benjamin squashed the living shit out of him in that match and Daniel Garcia needed to get his pride back. See, that Daniel Garcia, he looked good getting his pride back. See, I was starting to get on the train with him on that. I really was. I was starting to get on board with him getting his pride back. I actually was proud of him for winning the title. I mean, I know what I said during the watch along, that's irrelevant. Deep down, I was kind of proud of him for playing that angle, playing the come from behind guy, playing that and actually getting his way into the title. I think that Daniel Garcia, if they had let him do the squash, I think if we got that revitalized Daniel Garcia, that climbing up the mountain again thing, I think that would have built for more compelling television. At least for if you're trying one last ditch effort to get some WWE fans in the building, that probably would have done it better than the way they're doing it right now. I don't own the company. That's just my booking thought. I'm not crapping on Tony for that. I just personally think there are easier ways to get to this without damaging somebody who just got here, and they throw him in the tournament and he's supposed to be the actual American strong style wrestler in the whole thing. And we had an opportunity to get Japanese, British, and American strong style in the same ring at the same time. We dropped the ball. That was pretty much it. I thought there were other avenues. I don't disagree with you. I know they're setting up for it because they pretty much just said in the backstage segment that Shelton Benjamin was coming after that title, which we automatically knew that was coming after this tournament. I just thought there were better ways to get there. And you could have enhanced Shelton just a little bit more. And you could have put Garcia back down on that bottom rung and had him climb his way back up to grace. Maybe not even necessarily lose the title the first couple of times. Make the vengeance of Shelton be bigger than the mountain climb. And I think they could have converted a lot of people to make them Daniel Garcia fans if they'd have done it that way. Just a thought. Just thoughts off the top of my head. Do you have any other comments? Any other ones? That was a good one, though, Catherine. I like that. That's good thinking. That's good thinking. They are doing that. I agree. I just think the path could have been a little bit different, so to speak. So, But yeah, we'll see what they come up with on that. I am actually looking forward to seeing Shelton carrying some kind of gold because it's only been like what 15 years on mainstream television. Not talking about the indies. Um, it's been like what 15 years since he's had a title. I would like to see him have a title. I really would. So that was good though. That was really good. Um, all right, all hearts free. Going once, going twice. All right, we're going to get into the final part of the segment right here, post show. Give me 1 second here. So I needed to check on something. Final thoughts for the night. We are coming up on the Christmas season. We are coming up on the Christmas holidays. And if you have family around you, enjoy every single moment you've got because you have no promise of tomorrow. And they have no promise of tomorrow. The only promise you have is the minute that you're in and the minute you just had. And this year, considering all the turmoil we've been through as a country over the last little bit, and of course, over the last pretty much decade, and so on and so forth, I think it would probably be good on everybody if you just put those grudges aside, bury those hatchets, cook up that beef, put it on the grill, cook it up, and eat it, and reconnect with your family. Because, you know, those of us that don't have much family, I mean, I have my son around. I'm very happy about that. It's the last little bit of family I've got around me, per se. Um, are jealous of people who do have that, and we don't understand why you fight. Okay? I'm just saying that. That's my closing thoughts for the night. I want everybody to have a happy holiday. If you celebrate Christmas, Merry Christmas. If you don't celebrate Christmas, happy day off on Wednesday. Um, love somebody, love yourself first. Because if you don't love yourself, you can't love anybody. That's fact. Be kind. That costs free 99. You can do that all day, every day for free 99. And I hope you have a great holiday. And Catherine, I hope you have a phenomenal holiday. I'm going to be up in Pinnacle on Wednesday. I might DM you and say, hey, y'all want to go get a cup of coffee while we're coming through, something like that. Don't know yet. Doubt you would have time. Doubt I'm going to have time, but we'll see how it goes. Because I would like to chop up some game about that show we were talking about. I would love to do that. Happy holidays with everybody. If Steel Chair's in here, I would like to chop up game with you about doing a show with you as well. I'm fine with that. If you're not in here, you're not in here, so be it. But yeah, I hope everybody has a great holiday. I hope everybody got what they wanted. And I hope your transition time between now and New Year's is phenomenal. Let's keep it safe. Let's keep it sober. And more especially, let's keep it civil. Have a good evening. Good night. God bless. And good night, America, wherever you are. See you Thursday.